After having traveled the northwestern area of the United States and the southwestern part of Canada, kind of mirroring my trip, which was the southeastern part of Canada and the northeastern part of the United States. We kind of did a mirror there, a little circle on both ends of the coast. Cern Basher, glad to have you back.
Thanks, Randy. It's good to be back. And it's funny how we are from opposite ends of the country and we went to opposite ends of the country.
Yes, or at least we're from there now. I started out in the Midwest and you started out at the southernmost tip, if I understand your bio correctly, of New Zealand.
Pretty much one of the most southerly places in the world, other than perhaps Chile and southern Argentina. Yeah.
Hey, all right. Well, all right. So, I'm glad to have you back. Everybody's glad to have you back. And because, charts and graphs make us laugh or smile at least. I don't know about laugh.
Yeah. The good news is nothing really has happened since we saw each other last. So our timing was good.
Yeah, there was enough drama yesterday to keep me going for a month. I didn't need to watch any top TV shows at all last night.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. Let me first of all start with this, which is, I think, probably one of the more significant things that happened while we were away.
Yes, look at that. That's a great shot.
Now, this may be an old photo of the SpaceX crew, but either way, what an accomplishment.
Yeah.
This group of people had. And I guess we're looking for another test flight coming up fairly soon. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, Elon says a month, so that people say, well, that must mean 2 months, but we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, and a month or 2 months, that's nothing. But pretty incredible. This is a nice illustration of sort of what they did.
I see.
And so I think actually Elon may have reposted this. This guy does this for each of the launches and doesn't have his name on here. So I apologize. I don't know exactly who this is offhand.
Okay. All right.
I assumed that his name would be on here, but it's not.
Yeah.
Anyway, look out for the next one that Elon reposts.
Yeah, I've been saying all along that I might have to make the trip to southern Texas to see that landing if they're actually going to try to catch it. That would have to be absolutely one of the most stunning human events in history.
It would be. It definitely would be. Yep. And Scott will be wandering around in a field out there somewhere, so I'm sure. Yeah. So speaking of Elon's posts, he posted this last night. And for those that haven't heard yet or haven't seen it yet, he's announced that both the shareholder resolutions are currently passing by wide margins. So, he wouldn't post this if he wasn't confident that they would be successful.
It's a very good thing. I did have quite a lengthy coverage of that this morning on my show. I was concerned that Elon was the kind of guy that makes his kids open their presents on Christmas Eve. I mean, what's the deal here? I was looking for the drama today.
Yeah, I suspect that maybe he was concerned that maybe the word would leak out.
Yeah.
And so to head that off, you just go ahead and announce it. It may be a hard thing to keep under wraps, although these proxy voting, the companies that count the votes, they should have a pretty good system for keeping these things secret.
I would suspect, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, if we dive into the details, AJ did a nice little summary here on Elon's comp vote. And of the 3.2 billion shares that are outstanding, Elon and his brother Kimball were not eligible to vote. So 13% of the shares get excluded. And so that leaves about 2.8 billion shares that are eligible to vote. And right now, as of last night, 67% of those shares have been voted, and 73% of the shares that have been voted were for.
Right.
And 27% against. So this gives them confidence that this will pass.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes out of that, but one of the biggest ones is just a tremendous vote of confidence for Elon, that the troops are still behind him, not just the retail investors, but the institutions are really behind him, even with all of the stuff that happened last week, all the people that were saying no. The truth is that the vast majority are saying go Elon.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I actually had a post where I talked about game theory and the idea that if shareholders really thought about this, even though they might not like, the compensation scheme, or even, a deal is a deal, right? You can't
Right. Mhm.
take away something that was granted a long time ago. But even if you didn't like that, that game theory comes into play, and the idea of cooperating, you'll both end up in a better place if you cooperate.
Yes, the prisoner's dilemma was something that I actually spent a lot of time on in my undergraduate coursework. I actually did some an experiment with married couples
Hmm.
to find out how they would do in the prisoner's dilemma if they played it over and over and over again. And it was interesting to watch how these married couples, made decisions to put their wife in jail. What impact did that have in the next round?
I suspect that marriages that last they're good at cooperating.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Probably not too many retaliatory actions in long-lasting marriages.
Right.
Yeah. And then on the Texas domicile vote, the bar is a little bit higher here, but it also is indicating that this passed the guaranteed win point. So that's great.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
What I was interested to see in both of these, how the number of votes have been counted in recent days has seen a sharp uptick.
Yeah.
And is that just, the slow process of getting the votes in and tallied, or is it the slow process of people actually voting?
Yeah, hard to call. There was certainly a lot of effort by Tesla Boomer Mama, Alexandra Mertz, where she was trying to get some of these foreign banks to agree to let people vote, and there was quite a number of votes involved in that, apparently. And so that might have been some of those coming in late. Some of the institutionals might have just decided, what the heck, we'll wait and see which way the vote is going before we vote. But anyway, for whatever reason, it was interesting to see a rush at the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. We vote the proxies on behalf of our clients, and we did it a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah,
And we never wait until the very end.
right, right.
So anyway, I was just curious to see this sharp uptick.
Yeah,
And certainly kudos to all the people that encouraged everybody to vote. That was very important.
right.
So that's great. And then this followed last night. Hallmark's catalog posted, "Okay, Elon, we got you the options. Now you have to make Tesla the most valuable company on the earth. Deal?"
Yeah,
And Elon responded, "Yes."
yeah, yeah.
And this tweet and the previous one is now part of an SEC filing this morning.
Oh, it is.
Yep. So
SEC filing this morning.
yeah, so as the company went along and as these tweets went through and so on, the next day they would file an SEC document basically documenting all this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And this is now part of that. So Elon saying he's going to make Tesla the most valuable company on earth has been formalized in that way.
It really only comes down to one thing: FSD being solved. I've tried it as hard as I can. I think other people have tried as hard as they can to find a missing link in the plan, a reason why it wouldn't work. But if FSD is solved and robotaxis or robocabs are put on the street, and if the fleet that exists today some of those become robotaxis, it's just kind of hard to imagine how it doesn't become the most valuable company in the world. And that doesn't count Optimus, which in my evaluation, and people that watch this channel know my evaluations on this and your valuation, you've done valuations on both as well, then Optimus will be multiple times more valuable than the robocabs. So yeah, it's pretty much in the books.
if those two lines of business are successful, either one of them could
Right.
propel Tesla to be the most valuable company in the world, um, by a very large amount, potentially. I don't have any slides on this in here today, but with ARK's announcement yesterday of their model update, I was a little bit critical of them yesterday on X because their new model does not include the humanoid bots.
I know. I know.
Now, it did to a degree. They included it internally only, meaning that Tesla would use humanoid bots in their own factories and they would get some cost savings.
Right.
And I got a hold of their open source model. I took that out and it made no difference to the valuation. So my point was, well, why even include it? Because they
Yeah.
excluded other things like Tesla Semi, supercharging network,
Yeah.
FSD licensing, AI as a service. They excluded all that. And yes, those are relatively small businesses compared to Robotaxi,
Right.
and those don't move the needle, but they are bigger than the cost savings from using Optimus internally.
Yes.
And so why would you include that but not include the others? It's kind of puzzling to me. My only guess is that if they include Optimus now, that it makes their price target so crazy
Yeah.
that they would just lose all credibility because their price target's already high enough.
Yeah, I suppose that could be part of it. But I mean, the part that was confusing to me, and I haven't dug in as deeply as I want to, but they said that the reason they didn't include it is because they're not anticipating it being within the 5 years of their expectation or of their plot. So that they're thinking that it's not going to be meaningful. And this is their statement that Optimus will not have meaningful revenue within that 5 years. And to the
Doesn't add up,
extent,
Randy.
yeah, to the extent
If
that,
Optimus is good enough for them internally
yeah,
and useful enough for Tesla, then
yeah,
it's good enough and useful enough for everybody else.
yeah,
And why wouldn't you scale up production? And we've still got 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, before they get to 2029, which is their price target year. You've
exactly.
got 5 solid years
Yes,
to ramp up production.
yes.
I would be shocked if Tesla doesn't in those 5 years.
Oh, it would be crazy. Besides, Elon has said he plans to start shipping the end of next year
That's right. To external customers.
to external customers. Yes.
So that's fine. I mean, the fact that ARK ignored that or doesn't want to include that right now, that's fine. I'm not overly critical of them, but I thought it was interesting
Yeah.
that their model does not include Optimus, really. Yeah. Okay, so now that Elon has promised or said that he'll work on making Tesla the most valuable company, I think this cartoon is probably accurate. I'm told investing takes patience. Now go get me some patience, ASAP. Right? So people are going to be judging how quickly Elon can deliver on this promise.
Yeah. 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 I have no patience. I've never had patience. I've always believed that patience was not was not an important part of life.
Patience is not a virtue, huh?
Not a virtue. Nope.
Well, unfortunately, as a Tesla investor, patience has been forced upon you.
Yes.
The stock now is probably approaching about 1,000 days of being below its all-time high.
Yep.
When this was cut, which was June 4th, we were at 943 days. So we have a little ways to go, I guess, but it was down 57%. It's been one of 3 long drawdown periods in the stock's history. The previous longest one was September 14th through March 17th, where it was down from its peak for a total of 939 days.
Okay.
So it seems highly likely that we may approach that 1,000-day mark, or perhaps not, but we've got a little ways to go before the stock hits a new high.
Yeah.
So patience has been forced upon us, whether or not we wanted it.
Yeah. And the more the spring gets coiled, the more it will explode out, I suspect.
There's always that potential, yes. Now, AJ, as you know, puts out a lot of good work, and I've decided to feature a lot of his stuff on this show. I thought this post was good in that he's talking about how people like to obsess about Tesla's deliveries, and in particular in this post about whether 2024 deliveries will beat 2023's. And he says, my friends, you're chasing a rabbit. So he's saying that we'll have certainty on 2024 deliveries basically the first day or two of January next year.
Right.
right? And that's eight months from when he wrote this, which was a month ago now. And he says, do you really think the Tesla's investment thesis at this point is predominantly focused on selling 100 plus or minus 1,000 vehicles relative to 2023? And he's saying, if you think that, in his estimation, that's the wrong way to think. He says, until then, we'll have the robotaxi unveil on August 8th, right? And it's quite likely that we'll see a leak of the lower cost vehicles that are slated for launch in late 2024, early 2025, assuming those aren't announced or presented on August 8th. Tesla must road test these vehicles, so leaks are a near certainty. And he says, do you really think we'll still be on FSD 12.3 at that point? No, of course not. By year end, we'll likely be, 13 dot something. And he says, you realize what this means? We just talked about that.
Right.
And he says, by year end, Elon said, we'll have Optimus in limited production, doing useful tasks. And AJ says, do you realize what this means? Right. So yes, delivery is a great thing to focus on. And I'm sure this quarter is going to get a lot of attention again. But AJ has an important point here. This company is transitioning from being an automobile maker to something very different. And so whether or not Tesla beats last year's delivery number by 100,000 or so, who cares? It's not that relevant.
Yeah, for me, the only caveat to AJ's theory, which I agree with, and I think AJ does do good work. My caveat to AJ's theory is I'm trying to figure out why not. I'm trying to figure out what is it that's holding back the Tesla organization from being able to beat last year's numbers. They've got the best cars in the world. They've got prices that are lower than they were last year. They've got an economy that's doing okay worldwide. Yes, interest rates are high, but they've been jiggering with that with the buy downs. They've got their costs going lower. I mean, everything to me would suggest that they should be able to hit their numbers or even sell out and have to be increasing shifts. But there's something going on. I don't know what in the sales. To me, it's in the sales organization. Something wrong on the selling side, that they're just not being pushed hard enough, or they just don't have the right people or something. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't wrap my arms around it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And AJ's profitability heat map here is also kind of interesting to look at from a industry-wide perspective. Certainly, it's been a challenging time for automakers globally.
Right.
And that hurts Tesla. It's hurt other EV makers, although there is no other EV maker that's an EV-only company that actually makes money.
Right.
On a profit on a before tax basis.
So explain the heat map a little to us.
Yeah, the heat map here is, he's changed this one from when he first put this out, but if it's red, I believe it's below zero. So the companies are not profitable.
Okay.
If it's green, if it's darker green, well, if it's green, it's positive. I think it looks like it's above 10%. And if it's orange, it's between 0 and 10. So the darker the green, the better.
Right.
So the most profitable automobile companies out there, Ferrari is at the top of the heap.
Right.
Right. And Porsche also up there. And Toyota historically and Kia have done pretty well as well. And certainly right now, as of last quarter, those are the 4 top companies as far as profit before tax.
Right.
As a percentage of revenue is the way this is measured.
Right.
So profitability, not total profits. And so Tesla is up there on the list. Not at the top, not among the top 5, but certainly up there. And it's the first one that's highlighted in green on the left and the right. But you can see that the company was more profitable, a year or 2 ago.
Right.
And so were a lot of other automobile makers.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you fall down the list, all the other battery electric vehicle only companies are on that list. And none of them are profitable on a before tax basis.
Right.
So it's tough out there.
Okay.
We've talked about the transition from ICE vehicles to EVs.
Right.
And this guy, Raffel does some really nice work. He's a statistician, I believe. I believe he lives in Austria, if I'm not mistaken. And he takes the data from different countries and he plots it out on these S-curves, and then he makes his own projections going forward.
Huh.
But this is the country of Norway, goes back to 2006, and he's showing the different curves for ICE vehicles in red, the sales as a percent of new registrations, or the vehicles as a percent of new registrations in that country.
Okay.
And so as the red line has come down,
Right.
the green line, the battery electric line, has gone up.
Sure.
But there's a third line, the hybrid line,
Oh, okay.
and that's in purple, blue or purple.
Okay.
So, you know, we've traditionally seen these curves just with ICE versus EVs.
Right.
But the reality is there's a third player. And he's suggesting that it's temporary, that hybrid is kind of a gateway to battery electric. And the data in Norway support that. You can see that curve going up and then down.
Right.
And you can see the little light blue dots. They're kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But using statistical tools, he's mapped this out and he's showing what that curve looks like. And the numbers beyond, I think it's maybe as of February 2024, he's making the projections.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. So he's showing that he thinks that hybrids are going to fade away in Norway. And
Right.
so it's interesting. So he's doing these projections for most European countries.
Brian White.
Norway is certainly the furthest along of any of them.
Right. Brian White made the case the other day that the deal for hybrids probably has to do with charging availability. So as charging availability becomes ubiquitous, as people have charging available on their street, if they're living in apartments, or if they are able to get their apartment owners, their condo owners to put the charging infrastructure into the building, as those things happen, then the hybrid reason goes away completely.
Mm-hmm.
And, that would certainly seem to be fitting in something like the United States, where you have a lot of city dwellers and a very high number of percentage of people that are renting. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. And then here's a similar one, although he's just got his hands on data from China, and he says the data quality there isn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
This chart shows battery electric plus plug-in hybrid EVs. And he's showing that as of January 2023, China was at about 40% of those two.
Uh-huh.
And then January 24, they were, and he says estimate, so I guess he doesn't quite have the data yet, at about 55%.
Right.
So they've gone up this curve pretty rapidly. And then you can see his estimates out to December of 2026 when he thinks they'll be over 90%.
Right.
So it's pretty astonishing. This is the largest auto market in the world at what he thinks will be 90%
Right.
by the end of 2026.
It's crazy.
Right. And again, it's the combination of BEVs and hybrids, but the trend is still there, despite what you might hear in the media. Okay. Randy, I would imagine that viewers of your channel are the people that would take the path on the right. That's why they're here. There are other channels that would offer them the left path.
The simple answers.
We'll let them go there. We'll take your viewers up the hill. How does that sound?
That sounds great. We will not shy away from complexity.
Right.
So Cern, I think we should wrap up right now this particular edition, because we've covered all the Tesla juicy stuff, and you've got a bunch more slides, I think, about the general economy. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and split it up and do that next time. Are you okay with that?
Makes a lot of sense, Randy. Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you next time. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.
If you happen to be a big fan of the Cybertruck, you might also be interested in this super fun Cybertruck refrigerator magnet and bottle opener. It is made out of super thick stainless steel, just like the Cybertruck, and it has this giant magnet on the back, so it's going to hold a lot of stuff on your refrigerator. It's an amazing gift, and it comes in that great gift box that you saw before that uses a magnet opener, just almost like an Apple box, like when you get Apple products. You can buy it on Amazon for $29.95, or you can buy it direct from me by sending $25 to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lowercase letters. Please indicate whether you want the stainless steel look, or maybe you'd like to have this very clever camo version. And then if you're not in the US, please add $20 for freight. If you'd like more than one, please check the information below to get pricing, as well as all that information I just told you will be repeated in the information below. So once again, think about joining the channel, getting the up-to-date Tesla news every single day. I think you'll be glad you did.